Good evening and welcome to a public MYT stream. We normally reserve such honours for our AAA members. However, we have a mission this year at MYT to help as many people as possible. So we are kicking things off right this year in 2024 by offering free track feedback. And you may have seen it on our Instagram or our other social media that we basically put out a bit of a link, shall we say. And we've got some amazing tracks to listen to tonight, hopefully, and some amazing things to learn. So we wanted to reach out to people and to help them get their year off in the right foot musically, and also to, you know, share the wealth and give guys a bit of a taste, or give people a good taste of what our AAA members normally get a couple of times a month. So we're going to be doing these, I think, fairly regularly. We'll probably maybe do one of these a quarter this year, so maybe like 4 of these sessions or so this year. And it's just really nice to be able to do something a bit more, you know, public facing. So if you are unfamiliar with what we do, we're an artist development platform, and we are currently helping people to make better music and to make the next steps in their career. Just like Jonas, who I was just speaking to before. He's one of our newer members over there in Copenhagen in Denmark. Hello there to Jonas. And we are, at the moment, doing something that we've never done before, which is a January sale. So what we're actually doing, if I get to the entire screen, we are doing a 50% off on memberships until the end of the month. So we only normally offer this once a year around our birthday. And if we're feeling super generous, we might do a Black Friday or something like that. But we normally only offer this once a year. But with our mission being to want to help as many people as humanly possible, and also as well, we understand the financial constraints of people these days, we really wanted to make an offer that will help you to start with momentum. And again, this is what we do. We help you build your brand. We help you make incredible music. We help you get signed. All of the labels you see here, I could rattle them off. I don't need to, given the logos. I'm sure you recognize them all. We've helped our members get signed to all of these labels and a few more. That actually needs updating with more labels, believe it or not. And yeah, we do it through weekly live classes and community calls. We do one-to-one coaching, and we've got 25 plus online courses in our library, which we're building on all the time. And we've also got a record label, which has already had multiple Beatport #1s since its inception in just October of last year. So we are up on our 4th release. It's out next week exclusively on Beatport. It's called the Stellar Kinematics EP, which is easy for me to say, by the amazing Acetone, who has had a lot of support from the likes of Funk the Void, from the likes of Paul Rain, and the promo that we're putting out at the moment is absolutely firing on all cylinders, getting some amazing support. There's somebody you might recognize. There's somebody else you might recognize. One of our alumni, one of our many alumni. That includes the likes of Four Candles. And also, if you checked our recent reel on Instagram, one of our recent alumni in the last few years is none other than Afterlife's very own Masano, who we took for one-to-one lessons a few years ago when Masano was starting off on his journey. So we're more than happy to help you in your production goals for the year. And yeah, again, we've got lots of incentives. We've got artist masterclasses. Our library of artist masterclasses are essentially really, really packed full. We've got a couple from Patrice Baumel. Who's a great friend of ours, Christoph. We've got Tim Green. We had an amazing one with Sebastian Mullart last year, and the list goes on and on. Dam Swindle, all sorts of people who have been on and helping our members. So there you go. So now we've got that out of the way, we can move back into our main camera. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow, we've got one person in the waiting room. That did not go according to plan. I was hoping we would have all 6 people that put tracks in this evening, but it is what it is. Hello to Raphael, who's another one of our AAA members, lurking on the tube of you, shall we say. So what we'll do is we will we'll first move into a screen share, and we will get the Zoom up and running. So obviously 1 or 2 people are feeling a little bit shy and maybe don't want to speak to us. So this is going to be a nice little one-to-one that Ben's going to get on his track. So we may as well start with Ben's track. I've just let him in. There he is. There he is. Mr. Ben Taunton is here. How you doing, brother? He'll be able to tell us when he connects to audio. Hello, Ben. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Excellent, mate.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Can't see you at the moment, but I'm sure that's entirely a personal choice. Thank you for making your track downloadable and public and everything else. We always have these last-minute things on these streams, so it's all good, mate. It's all good. So, yeah, excellent. Okay, so what I've got for you, mate, in order for you to hear the track, and I'm just going to share this in the chat here, we use, I don't know whether you're familiar with it. Have you heard of a platform called Audio Movers before?
No.
Okay, so Audio Movers is wicked. We've been using it for a long time. So the link on the chat that I've just given there will actually take you to a high-resolution stream of my DAW, which I'm playing the tracks from. So it gives you the ability to listen to not only your track, but the other tracks I think it's a 320 MP3 stream, which is like really, as bad as high quality as you can get with low latency. So it's a lot better than listening to it on the likes of YouTube or Facebook, that kind of thing. So so it'll just give you the better outlook or a better preview basically. So we find that Google Chrome works the best in this situation.
Yeah, I'm on Chrome, so I've clicked the link. Is it just start listening now? Is it?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it's already started. So basically, it's there, ready and waiting. I can see someone's connecting, so that's all good where that's concerned. And we can get on with it. So I could be really cruel and like just make you wait until last to listen to your own track, but I'm not that bad. Do you know what I mean? I'm not that bad a person. Like, so we'll take it from there. So we'll have a little listen to yours, mate. So I am gonna be completely honest with you. I have absolutely no clue about this track. I've not listened to it. I'm doing this deliberately because I like to give people the most authentic initial reaction that I can give them. Okay, so in terms of like what kind of music you're making and what you might want me to know about the track before we dive in and have a listen, is there anything that you'd like to mention or anything that you feel like the track needs or needs some help with?
No, I think it's a big before Christmas is the most recent one I've kind of fully finished.
Right.
Apologies, no camera, but I've got a new monitor and it doesn't have a webcam yet. So
fair enough.
It was inspired by kind of the Apple artist Colin. So it's kind of based on that kind of. So I spent quite a lot of time on I think it's like creating one of the particular sounds in it.
Yeah.
And then kind of built it out from there.
Perfect.
So melodic kind of techno type stuff.
Great. Absolutely fine. Okay, so we'll dive in. We'll have a quick listen, or we'll listen to the whole thing, and then we'll basically have a little chat about how this one. I'm sure it's a great track. I'm sure it can be improved even further. So here we go.
Yeah.
So here's Mr. Ben Taon with I think his artist name is Mebin, and it's Lincoln. So here we go. There you go. So, first of all, Ben, thank you very much for putting the track in. It's very good of you. Really enjoyed it. I'm going to ask you to unmute. I normally mute people just in case there's a bit of, feedback or whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah, all good, mate. All good, mate. Yeah, thanks for bringing the track in, mate. It's really, really cool. Really good. I love the concept of it. I really think it's in the main, like, really well executed. And at no stage did I think that the track itself or you making the track didn't know where it was going. If you know what I mean. It's like you always seem to know what the purpose of the track was. So well done, mate. Yeah, you're very welcome. So yeah, I'm gonna go through what I think really works, and then I'm gonna get more into constructive feedback. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
yeah, it's all right. It's all right. As I said, the whole concept's great. You were getting a lot of love in the YouTube comments about the vocals. The vocals work really, really nicely, and also as well the actual, like, the synth work. Like you mentioned Colin before, like there is that kind of, like, signature kind of Colin kind of synth stutter in the breaks and stuff that works really nicely indeed. So you were getting a lot of love for that as well, and overall we had Abraham Clark say it's a tune, and I need a copy, please. So hopefully when we give Ben the feedback, Abraham, and it gets signed, then we can send you the Beatport link, or even better, the Bandcamp link, so everyone makes money. Basically, and you can pay over the odds as well. There you go. So in terms of that, I think generally it's really well arranged, and I really love the drive of it. I love the rhythmic layers work really well. Now moving into things that are more sort of constructive, I definitely think there's an issue in the low end where I know exactly what you were doing at the beginning, because obviously as it starts and as it progresses, you're a bit like, okay, well, like, where's the low end? And that's, like, obviously a bit of a trick that you're playing in order to drop it quite hard later on. And that definitely worked when it arrived. However, it just felt like, and Raphael in the YouTube comments, like, made a mention to it, like, it just felt like the kick was maybe missing a bit of punch and a bit of cut through into the mix. Like, it could really sit in a bit more of a dominant position, because it felt like the relationship between your kick and your bass was maybe slightly out of place, where the bass was maybe slightly more dominant. And what it does is it kind of makes the whole thing sound just a little tiny bit less powerful than it could be, and it could do with just a bit of a realignment. I think you've got room to make the kick a good couple of dB stronger in terms of level in the mix, and also try and compress it a little bit, or use some transient design, like Transient Master in Native Instruments is really good, or Spiff from Uck Sound, or Transient Modulator from Sonox, or even if you're an Ableton guy, using Drum Bus with the transient control, just to bring the body and the click of the kick out just a little bit more, just to make it really solidly penetrate through the mix, and it'll give the track a lot more of a solid foundation to push off. So there's that element to it. And also what hasn't helped to an extent is that the shaker layers, like, there's a really lovely noise shaker in there that you've made. Like, it sounds like it's been made from white noise, and I love stuff like that, because you can modulate it and change the decays and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm a big fan of that. I've been doing that for years myself in my own tracks. However, that and the more organic shaker, they're very, very wide in terms of, like, the stereo image, and they're really, really noticeably loud. And what's happening is that my attention and my focus is going to them rather than the main elements of the track. And because of the way our human hearing systems work, the emphasis is on the higher end stuff. So it unfairly makes it sound like there's, like, less low end in the track than there actually is. So what I would do is I would take those down a little bit, and I would also actually kind of narrow the shakers a little bit, because also what you've got to think about is in terms of club play. And obviously, like, most club systems, and it's a bit more of a varied picture now, but the rule for me is always, like, assume that club sound systems are mono, because that way you'll get the maximum amount of compatibility. That's not to say that you can't stereo pan stuff or, you know, widen stuff for people who are listening not in the club on headphones or, you know, in their own like home listening environment or in the car or whatever. But there is definitely a limit to it. So I would get into, and I don't know whether you do this already, you can tell me, I would get into a habit of checking the mix in mono, because obviously if things kind of start going a bit too wide, when things get summed into a mono, what tends to happen is they tend to cancel things out the wider it gets. And like you'll play your track in a club potentially and you'll be like, where's my shakers gone? It's because they've phased each other out, so to speak. So I would definitely try and bring those down by at least 3 dB. And again, just sort of narrow them a little bit. So it does lend a lot of great width. Like, it's definitely a good effect. But again, just thinking about the club play situation, there's definitely a balance between getting something that sounds really impressive in headphones and something that also works in the club. The ideal mix down is the one that works like optimally well as much as possible in as many environments as possible. That always means it's a little bit of a trade-off. So, you know, again, that's all something that you can think about for this track and also for future tracks. Getting onto the more musical elements, like, again, really strong across the board. What I felt was, looking at the arrangement, I wonder whether or not you either, and this is going to be a choice that you can make, because again, this is a subjective thing, whether or not you could actually drop one of the breakdowns and have a slightly longer breakdown that has more tension built up into it. So you get a much more tense and a much more kind of gradual rising of tension, which then brings the whole thing to like a singular crescendo. Because at the moment you've got these like, obviously you're waiting quite a while for the kick to drop, and that's totally fine. And then fairly quickly you're into like a break. And what I did feel was that it was a cool break, and there's a lot of really lovely musical elements, and it's very sweet, and the vocals work really well, and there's a lot of emotion in it. But what we didn't get at the end was that real rise up into that first kick. And to be honest, one thing I do want to give you a lot of praise for is that you've not done the typical melodic techno thing, which is, you know, leave people hanging for 30 seconds and then it just drops from absolute silence. Like, I mean, it's a trick, it works, but it's not that interesting, to be honest with you. And I think it's done a little bit too much. So fair play for actually like dropping something immediately, because I think we need more of that. Like, we need to get down to business a bit more. So, you know, one of the things that we've had on the platform previously is that we had a track feedback session. It's a while ago now, and hopefully we're going to get to do another one this year with a good friend of ours called Patrice Baumel. You may have heard of him. And some of the feedback he gave in this session was absolutely amazing. And one of the things he really put us all onto was like the whole concept. If you listen to his tracks, it's like one of everything. And what he means by that is also like, well, there's one breakdown. And it just clarifies everything. So this is advice we've been giving to people for a while. So one of the things I would say is again, you could take some of the time from here. And again, this is a total subjective thing. You might prefer it the way it is and just tell me to shut up. But ultimately, you could actually make the track even more focused than it already is by having that one real main breakdown. And you could actually have a break there. It would make sense. It definitely made sense to have a break there. But for me, it would be a bit shorter and a bit more of a maintaining of that peak energy before going into the outro. So it would help tighten the track up, and it would bring the more dramatic moments closer together, and it would, again, make the whole thing about that singular moment. But I've got to say, mate, it's an excellent track, and with a bit more on getting the elements, it's a great thing, because if you notice, I'm not telling you that it needs something extra. I'm not telling you to add extra information or extra instruments. I'm not telling you actually even to take stuff out. You're in a very good position, because it's all about actually doing more with what you already have. So it's just the order of things and getting things to execute exactly where you want them. So How do you feel about that feedback, and have I offended you too much?
No, that's really, really helpful. Yeah, because it's great to have a completely independent pair of ears with lots of experience. I'm sure used to picking out similar things. So yeah, those were really valuable around the arrangement and the mix down.
No, absolutely, mate, absolutely. And you know what, mate? I can't wait to hear this in a finished state where it absolutely sends it in a club. And the good news is, mate, is that, you know, all the things we've talked about, or I've talked about, and we've had in the comments, they are small tweaks. Like, it's not major surgery to a track like this. And then once you've kind of got things in the right kind of balance, it's then, right, okay, well, how can I replicate this in slightly different ways in each track and then iterate on it to improve over time? And then 6 months from now, you'll be in a completely different place, mate. So well done, mate. I'm really seriously impressed, and I do think there's a huge amount of potential here. So thank you for having, shall we say, the balls to actually have this played out on, you know, a public stream and letting me kind of, you know, give you the feedback, mate. It's very much appreciated.
No, it's great. Thank you for your time, and thank you everyone for the comments, etc.
Oh, amazing, mate. Absolutely. Thanks very much, Ben. Appreciate it. So, Ben, you can stick around on the Zoom, like, if you want, mate. Again, the others, I've noticed a couple of them who, you know, could jump into the Zoom are actually lurking on YouTube. We like to call it lurking. So that's all good. So yeah, we'll move on from here, and we'll go to Richard. And Richard's somebody who's known to us before, Seven Music. He's very, very talented, but he's put something in for this stream. So I can't wait to have a little bit of a listen to it. So here is Rosario, and then we'll have a little chat about it afterwards. Here we go. as our resident South American Raphael said there in the YouTube comments, proper Rosario vibes. Definitely, yeah. I wonder what made Richard name this track after a particular area of Argentina. Does that mean I can name my next track Buenos Aires because I'm moving there soon? Oh well. We'll see. We'll see. Great track, Richard. And first of all, lovely to hear from you again, mate. Richard has been of this parish before and hopefully is going to rejoin our lovely community. And obviously, all of our former members are welcome back anytime. So, yeah, amazing. Great stuff. Hello to Brian Tom, who says, nice one, man. Love it. You got a lot of love in the old YouTube comments there, my friend. Very, very cool indeed. So yeah, it's definitely, it's deeper, isn't it, than like a lot of the stuff that you were making in the past. And Richard in the past was making really, really cool sort of like Pride, Eric Prydz style stuff. And this is a nice kind of balance between that kind of sensibility and something a bit deeper, something a bit more progressive. Very cool. I've got to say, mate, you were mentioned in the YouTube comments that the track is not mixed or mastered in any way. So if this is like a raw production, then I'm pretty impressed because this is really, really cool. Like, it sounds great. It's got a good overall balance, although I do have some notes about that. And the whole thing is really, really well arranged and really well executed and very similar to Ben's track. I got no sense at any stage that it didn't know where it was going or didn't know what it was doing or it didn't lose sight of its direction or its purpose. And actually, one of the things I can hear is that you've had an absolute ball making it. I am a big believer in if a track executes well and really does give you an impact of some description, that's always a good sign that the person who's made the track is enjoying the process. So very good. So, So Richard says, thanks. Yes, it's a bit darker than I normally make, but I thought it would share. Amazing. And Filipe Lowe says, nice stuff. Yeah, felt like deep prog. And we don't have enough deep prog in the world, which is very, very nice. So, that being said, I do think, again, I'll get to technical stuff and then some creative stuff. So, I've got 3 points, really, to make about the track. 4 at a push. So, number 1, maybe this is me zooming in on things. And sometimes when we do these feedback sessions for our MYT AAA members, what we do is that we sometimes find that there's recurring themes. And the recurring themes tonight so far, especially with Ben's track and with yours, is kick. Okay, so the kick definitely adds a lot of energy and it's definitely there. It's something I feel like actually needs a bit more click and a bit more transient. And again, something that can really cut through the mix and really, as I say, sit there and really provide a solid foundation for the track. Because it's got a lot of power to it, but it's a bit, not dull, but it's very round sounding and has got a lot of mid-range and low mids. And it really, again, it's got a lot of that, the Dutch like to call it mid-punch. It's got a lot of mid-punch in it, but it doesn't necessarily cut through the mix. And I think the track actually could have a lot more power and a lot more momentum if the actual kick itself like had that extra bit of click. Hello, sir. Gav Easby. All right, mate. How are you? Well, I'm very well, mate. Hope you are as well. Felt like a 3 a.m. track deep down the hole. Oh, what sort of hole could you be talking about? I would never, ever know. I would never acknowledge such things in public. Anyway, mate, hope you're well. Thanks for tuning in, mate. So, yeah, the kick just needs that little bit more click, a bit more cut, a bit more transient, a bit more of that kind of initial tone and percussiveness that'll really help it cut through the mix. And then, again, it's things like the high-end stuff, like your metal work, like your shakers and your hi-hats and stuff. They just sounded just a tad harsh, and I did notice in the spectrum analyzer, because, again, if you haven't seen feedback given like this before, there's a lot of people who are doing feedback streams, and that's fantastic, and it's great. Get all the feedback you need. I do see a lot of them done with very simple stuff like SoundCloud links and stuff like that. It's not how I like to operate. I'm a fully trained audio engineer, mix engineer, you name it, sound designer. I've just done a big pack for Art Audio Pigments 5 with our good friends over at ADSR. And, I do like to use plugins like this. This is Metric AB by Adapter Audio, and this is like the cornerstone of how we give feedback. So one of the things you can say here is that you can see there's a bit of a bump here between 4 and 8K. And this is like right at the end of the track, so it's fairly consistent. Outros are normally quite good for checking this type of stuff. So you can see 4 to 8K there. There's a bit of a bump, and that's actually where we're mostly sensitive. We're most sensitive in terms of our hearing. So again, as I was saying to Ben before, when you've got a lot of information in that area, it can make the track sound a bit more brittle and a bit thinner than it actually is. So again, I'd just bring those hi-hats and shakers down by a couple of dB, and you might just want to put a little bit of a bump in there just to like not dull them off, but to just take some of that harshness out in that 4 to 8K area. So I know the track's not mixed or mastered, but again, this is just a note for mixing. Again, the track in its raw form sounds really, really good, and I'm just kind of giving you notes on where you could go. You could try, as Rich has asked there, just going back to the click on the kick for a second, just a click on a separate channel. You could try that. You could layer it in the original channel. You could try, listening to a kick that you really like the tone of, and then rolling off all the low end and then getting it to sit on top. Just experiment with it and then see how you go. Again, if there is some sort of click in there that you have rolled off, maybe you've rolled it off with some EQ or stuff like that, you can be a little less harsh with that. And again, as I mentioned to Ben before, there's some amazing transient design tools out there, like Transient Master. You've got the drum bus in Ableton if you're an Ableton guy. You've got the ability to use stuff like Spiff by Sound, which is a bit more expensive but very good as well. Transient modulator from Sonox, that kind of thing. But honestly, just Transient Master from Native Instruments is very, very good for that type of thing if you want to try and work with the original kick. But yeah, a click on top will work really, really well. No worries, mate. Excellent work. Thank you very much. So yeah, there is that. So in terms of the breakdowns, I think the breakdowns work quite well. I would actually, again, this is going to be about tension and release, where I do think that there's more to be gained tension-wise from both the breakdowns here. And actually, one thing you could do is actually differentiate the breakdowns by direction. Now, what do I mean by direction? Like, breakdowns can work in a couple of different ways. Right, as I was saying to Ben before, that often used trick of like the melodic techno breakdown that builds up to an absolute peak, and then you just kind of left floating up there for a few bars in silence and reverb tail, and then it drops. Or you can go up and go over the top the way Ben's did and kind of drop straight away. Or what can happen is that you can actually blend it down to nothing and then do a bigger drop, basically. So you could actually do this here in a couple of different ways. Now, what I would do is here in this first initial breakdown, I would actually maybe manage some elements down and kind of, almost make it feel like it's rolling down to nothing and then drop it. And there's a couple of different kind of tricks you can use for this. Again, you could use filters, you can use volume just to kind of give it that kind of peak, and you can see that downward peak happening here. Whereas in this main break, I would go the other direction. I would go up. So I would basically try and build it up, and then drop it. And you can actually visually see here in this section where the drop happens. Can you see where your section here before it goes into the break is actually louder than here? So one of the other tricks that I would like to recommend for you, and this is like an often used trick, where you can actually take your drums, including your kick, and when you do a drop like this, where you're kind of like building it, but you're almost like managing the levels down, or indeed like when you're actually doing a drop the other way as well, works both ways. What you can do is actually take the drums and you could actually boost them by 3 dB. So the drums are initially, when they drop, louder than they will have been the last time that a listener has heard the track. And then you can automate it. So you could put like a gain plugin on, or a utility if you're an Ableton person. And then over the course of like 8 bars or 16 bars, you can automate the level back down to where it was before. That's not going to harm you in terms of mastering, especially if your gain structure's correct. It's actually going to help you because you're manipulating the dynamics in the track in order to be able to make a more impactful drop. So here, I would actually try and build it up, give it that big peak, and then do the drop with harder drums and then roll it back. This first breakdown, I would try and manage it down. And then again, if it gets down to a peak, like a very, very low point before we get to that first kick drum here, that's going to make it more impactful. So again, think about dynamics, think about playing with the levels of different instruments, the levels of drums, automating them through the track. That works quite nicely. And again, the whole groove and atmosphere of everything was very, very cool. Really, really liked it. However, one thing I will say, and I did mention this in the chat, that in the final third, it felt like you could do with one more element. And I reckon there's enough room in it for a counter melody, because the stabs and everything, and Jonas really picked up on this. Like he said, the stabs are really cool. I really like them a lot. What I think is there's room for a little bit more musicality, because it did feel a little bit like the track kind of reverted back to what it was doing before the breakdown a little bit, and there was more sort of like, there was better strings and pads and stuff, and that brought some emotion. That was really nice. But again, you know, now is the time in the final third when you're looking at actually resolving everything, and this is the point of the last 5-6 minutes of getting here, is to actually, you know, produce this emotional moment, this payoff, the climax of the track, shall we say. Don't be afraid to throw the kitchen sink at it. You could also, again, throw extra elements at it. Rhythmically, you could throw in some rides, bigger open hi-hats, maybe some more shakers, that kind of thing. You know, you've got gears in the gearbox, and because it's so well constructed, you've got space in order to be able to do all of this. So you've got a really amazing track, just like Ben's. Like, it's got great potential, and it's really, really nice. So I would definitely recommend, you know, continuing to work on it. You know, again, with this extra element, looking at the breakdowns and a good mix down, mate, this is ready to go. This is an excellent record. So yeah, amazing. Here we go. Richard says, yes, I thought I needed another level 2 and perhaps teasing part of it in the main break. Absolutely. Yeah, that would work phenomenal to do that, actually. You could kind of just hint at it with certain notes and then go into the full counter melody when you're in that final third. And again, that will really bring the payoff. But amazing stuff, Richard. Great to hear from you, mate. Great to listen to your music again. And look forward to hearing a finished version of this very soon. Thank you very much. Awesome stuff. Right, okay, I think we'll move on. Let's see who's knocking around here. Let's do Anthony Sangera. There you go. That'll do, as the incredibly bright screen makes me look like a ghost. The pedals of looking so pale in English. All right, so let's have a little listen to this. This is called See You Again. Again, I've got no idea what this sounds like, and we're going to get a completely unvarnished opinion. So here we go. Let's have a go. say business has just picked up. And business was pretty brisk as it was. Thank you to Mr. Anthony Sangera for dropping that. Shame he doesn't seem to be on the Zoom or on the old Tube of View or anywhere else. But yeah, excellent work, man. And you know what? A real refreshing change. I haven't heard any sort of trance-like stuff in a while, so I've thoroughly enjoyed having a listen to that. And it's quite interesting as well, because this is another thing that tends to happen in these feedback sessions sometimes, is that you get feedback in the first two tracks, and then the third track kind of almost answers the feedback with an example to the other two tracks. So I was actually listening to these breakdowns going, yeah, this is how you do breakdowns. Like, this is how you build tension. Especially the first one. You know, that whole thing of like, I was just explaining to Richard about how you can, you know, manage the energy down and then, you know, drop quite well. And that's exactly what happens here. Very, very cool the way the energy's managed down in a very deliberate way and then drops in a really, really impactful way. So, you know, hey, we can learn a lot from trance in progland. You know, it's always been the way, right? It's always been the way that the two can kind of liberally borrow from one another and, you know, beg, borrow, steal, I suppose. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of the other two tracks we've listened to, like, these breakdowns are excellent examples of how you actually can build that kind of tension. Really, really nice indeed. You know, I don't have a huge amount of fault this record. I really don't. I think it gets in, it does its thing, it gets out, it's sounding really nice, it's sounding really full. Hello to Trade Time. It is Anthony himself. Hello, sir. He's here. Excellent, mate. Excellent. Well done. Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much for putting this in. Really appreciate you trusting me with the ears and the ears of this community, this little mini bunch that we've put together on YouTube here. Filipe Luis says, the quality of the production is also top notch. It really is, man. It's really well produced. Considering the amount of layers that's going on and how full it sounds and the amount of like different instrumentation and sounds like the kind of the more robot-y style vocal, which kind of almost has a slight dubstep quality to it, you know, that modern talking kind of vibe. You know, they take up a lot of space in the mix. And the fact that you've managed to blend and balance that and have it not lose power or sound too overwhelming is very, very impressive indeed. Good mixing in trance and these kind of really dense, really multi-layered genres. Very, very hard to come by. So you've really, really nailed this, mate. I think if anything, I think I would want maybe just as a mix down out, if I'm being super nitpicky and super harsh, I would say I would want a little bit more air in that sort of like 10k upwards kind of range. There's a couple of plugins I really love using in the mix down for that. One is the Air EQ, quite literally the Air EQ from Slate Digital, which I've been a massive long-term user of Slate Digital and really, really like their modules in the virtual mix rack. And the other one is also a Slate Digital thing, which is actually a freebie, which is called Fresh Air. And that helps with like, you know, it's adding a bit of excitement. Do you know what I mean? And you can hear how that you've took your time on it, mate, and it's been a bit of a labour of love. Because, again, stuff like that does not happen by accident. Does not happen by accident. Richard's off dancing. He's got his glad rags and his shoes on. And, yeah, it does not happen by accident, mate. It's very, very, very well done indeed. And yeah, I do think, like, the only other thing I would say, and this is a completely subjective thing, I'm wondering whether or not you maybe give the game away and play all your cards a little bit too much in this last breakdown. The reason why I say that is that it launches straight back into, like, the full drums. And I'm just wondering whether or not this could drop here, because there's such a dramatic thing. You could make the contrast very stark, in that you could drop it to just like a kick and a bass and maybe like the lead like kind of line, and then wait 8 bars and then introduce the drum layers again. And it just gives a bit more of a palate cleanse, and it just gives people an opportunity to kind of like absorb the drop before you go straight back in. And you've got time, man, because again, the track's 4.5 minutes long. So, you know, you've got a bit of time if you wanted to extend out, you know. Talking about tracks, like we've just listened to a couple there, 7 and 8 minutes. I remember when trance records lasted that long. You know what I mean? So, you know, you've got time on your side there. There's a great, really great sort of like 5.5 minute track waiting to get out of this. And again, I think it's fantastic. I think it's really, really well done. And all I've got for you, apart from those notes, is encouragement, man. This kind of style of music is still extremely popular. I'm sure you're into the likes of, Ali and Filipe and, Above and Beyond and the whole, Future Sound of Egypt crew. Stu Roberts is a friend of mine who manages all of that Future Sound of Egypt stuff. And, they're good guys. Paul Thomas, people like that as well. Really, really good guys. Believe it or not, a lot of them are in mourning with me today as Liverpool fans because obviously, our dear leader has decided to step down. So I've been talking to a lot of those boys today and commiserating each other in WhatsApp groups. So yeah, I mean, this kind of style is still very, very popular, mate, and it's very, very well executed. So well done, Anthony. Thanks for taking the time to pop on, get the feedback. Again, this live stream will be watchable back anytime. So if there's anything that any of the people who are getting feedback tonight need to go over again, this is going to be here for you, no problem at all. All right, excellent stuff. Thank you very much, Anthony. We are going to move on, and we are going to go to... we're going to go to Matias, Yantorno. So, as he says here, he's a car mechanic, so make note in case you need anything to do with your car. I need a service soon. Wonder whether you're near me. A beginner music producer, a great music lover. I started 2 years ago. I would do it for free without hesitation. Most of us have to, unfortunately, these days. And, excellent. We'll have a little listen to the tracks. So, changing paths, no mixing, mechanics keys. So, let's have a go. And again, thank you once again to Anthony. So, yeah, let's have a little listen here. And we shall take it from here. So, let's go. Let's go. Oh, I'm loving it already. Here we go. Well, not only can he fix your fan belt, he can make bangers as well. A man of many talents. Love it. Nah, thanks for that. Really, really great track. Really enjoyed it. Love the subtlety of it. Very, very nice. Very nice. And I tell you what, if you are doing that a couple of years in and considering yourself a beginner, I can't wait to hear where you're going to be in a year or so's time. Because something tells me if you carry on making music like this, you ain't going to be a car mechanic for much longer. So yeah, there's that. There's your first piece of feedback. In the words of Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting, how do you like them apples? So yeah, really, really good stuff. I love the smoothness of it, like Gav Easby said it in the YouTube comments. Really nice variations in the melody. Smooth as silk. Very, very nice. Very nice indeed. Magnus has just said the last part after the breakdown is the best part. And yeah, it definitely lands, doesn't it? It sticks the landing. You know, I really like the breakdown in terms of like how it builds and how it drops. And there is like a nice amount of tension. With tracks like this that are a bit more subtle, you don't want like, you know, a build like so big and so tense that, you know, it would like, you know, burn the eyebrows off your face if you were like listening to it in a club. You know what I mean? Like it just feels so out of place. So just the delicacy and the execution of that and being able to do that after a couple of years of production is very, very impressive indeed. It's very good. It's very, very good. That being said, I do have a couple of comments. And the main one, actually, one is a bit of a mixing comment. So, again, I don't know what state this is in, whether you've mixed it, whether you've mastered it. But one thing I did notice just looking at the stereo image here, and again, this is one of the things that we like to look at. We like to look at the stereo image on Adapter Audio Metric AB because what it does is that it not only gives you what the stereo width kind of is in general, you know, you can find that out with a number of analyzer plugins. And, you know, if you're a Logic person, you know, you've got the multimeter that has something called the goniometer, which like shows you like the width and the distribution of the sound across the stereo field. But it doesn't do it the way that Metric AB does, which is to actually lay it out in a frequency sense. So you can actually see what's contributing on a per frequency level, what is contributing to the stereo width of the entire piece. So in this case, we've actually got quite a lot of stereo information in the bass. And that can be, like I was saying to Ben before in his track with Shakers, that can be quite risky. And one of the things I would recommend is you can get lots of free plugins. I believe Voxengo do them, and there's a number of what I think Brainworks do a free one if you look on the Plugin Alliance website, where you can actually control the frequency of the mono, essentially. So what you'll want to do is put your bass into mono. And again, if you are a Ableton user, you can use the utility plugin for just this type of thing, and you can have this bass mono option where you can select what frequency can be mono in your bass. So I sometimes go up as high as, you know, 300 hertz, something like that. And basically you know, have everything from 300 down in complete mono, because then what it does is that it solidifies the track and it really makes sure that it works in the club. With, and you can see some of the width here around 50 hertz, like super wide, like actually some of the widest stuff in the entire track. That's quite dangerous. I mean, it sounds great in headphones, but when it's played in the club, things at the extremes of left and right, like we said, get summed to mono, and because they're working in opposite directions from a phase point of view, they actually cancel each other out. So when tracks like these get played in clubs, sometimes the low end becomes very lacking because it's actually cancelling itself out. So you have to be very, very careful with that. So again, plugins like stuff from Voxengo, utility in Ableton, although I think you're a Logic guy. Again, you've got Brainworks, I think it's a BX Control, I think it is the one that allows you to do that, to control the stereo width of various different things. So you can definitely use that to kind of control it from there. That's the main thing, because again, not only am I thinking about what it sounds like in my headphones, what it's going to sound like in my studio on my monitors, you know, what it's going to sound like in the car, or on, various, AirPods and stuff like that. And in the home listening environment, I'm thinking about it for the club as well. Okay, so that's the main thing I would definitely say. I definitely think as well, like the groovy section after the breakdown definitely works. I definitely think you can bring a bit more emotion out of the strings as well. Just to kind of like have them sweep a little bit more. Maybe you could make them a bit more lush sounding as well by sending stuff off to a reverb, sending the strings particularly, and just trying to widen it and make it sound a bit more epic. I think that's the only other thing that I've got to say. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I really love how you kind of gently introduce the vocals as well and have that kind of drop really nicely too. So yeah, man, very, very cool stuff. And like I say, very talented, and a couple of years in doing this kind of thing, very, very, very special indeed. So yes, excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Okay, so we've got a couple of ones here. Right, so we'll do this frequency, and then we're going to finish off with My Girl. I believe is that from you, Yums? I'm just seeing somebody saying I submitted the track for review. It's always helpful, if it's correctly labelled. So yeah, there you go. Amazing stuff. So, Dale is up next. And we're going to have a listen to this. This is called This Frequency, Mix 1. I think that maybe denotes that it's mixed down. So we'll have a little bit of a look at that. And we shall see. So yes, let's reconvene after we've had a little listen to This Frequency from Mr. Dale. Here we go. All right, so that was Mr. Dale Higginson. Thank you very much for dropping that in. And I always love it when people put little comments in like this at the beginning. Where they drop a track in, it's funny, it's like, oh yeah, for context, I know my track isn't on the same level as the others, but that makes me hungrier to improve. Brilliant, but you're not that far off. Let's be honest, you're not that far off. You're not a million miles off at all. Sometimes it can be very, very difficult to tell because you're too close and you're too invested in the, in the music itself. And sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees. That was excellent, mate. Excellent. Dale sent me a couple of emails, let me know where he is in his process. And considering where he is in his journey, it's very, very impressive. So well done, mate. Kudos, props to you. Track's got a lot of beef to it. It's got a lot of energy. It's very, very good. Really, really into it. So basically, what I would say is this. It's really well constructed. I do have a note. In fact, let me do the arrangement note first before we get into the rest of it. So for me, actually, there's an arrangement note about the end because it does end a bit abruptly, if I'm being honest. And I would look at that if I was considering playing this in a DJ set. If I was to look at that and look at the end of it, I'd be like, might be a bit difficult that to actually DJ with because it kind of has it kind of gets more energy after this kind of this kind of break here. And when it drops and it comes back in, it kind of feels like it's kind of building up again. So what I would do is you can start from that point again, but 6 minutes 55. Again, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of things which will help with the running time, which will kind of keep it around that time, maybe a tad longer. But I would definitely have a much more gradual outro where sort of every 8 bars, every 4 to 8 bars, I would be taking something out and just letting it have that kind of tail. Like in the trade, we would call that DJ friendly, which just makes the mixing and the transition a lot smoother. So I would definitely go with that. I mean, obviously as well, there is things like endless looping and stuff like that, but I do appreciate a more gradual roll off of the track and the drums as we kind of go forward. Now, in terms of what's going on here, I think this section here, especially towards the end of it before the breakdown, it kind of lagged a little bit and it started getting a bit linear is the word I would say in terms of the energy. There wasn't a lot of movement. It was I would say holding station is the way that I would describe it as I give my ears a slight rest on the headphones for a second. I would say that it's kind of just maintaining its energy here. And the thing is that if it's the final third of a track and it's maintaining the energy, it's actually kind of losing energy. So what you'll want to do is try and create a bit more modulation. Now, what I would do here is that I would get quite brave. I would actually take 16 bars out of this and I would devote those 16 bars to the outro, which means it keeps it in that same sort of 655 area, but you've kind of nipped 16 bars of a section that's getting a little bit repetitive and donating it to somewhere that needs it a bit more. So you can kind of do that and you can kind of decide where you use your chunks of time. That can work quite nicely. But then what you can also do when that section is 16 bars shorter, it also brings all the, like I was saying before in some of the other tracks, it also brings the more dramatic moments of the track a bit closer together, okay? And what that has the effect of doing is making the whole thing a bit more exciting. However, that being said, even within that section, you can actually get more excitement by doing exactly what George is saying here. Hello to George. Could do a lot more automation and variety to keep it interesting, especially in this section. And there's a few people commenting saying, yeah, it needs a bit of movement, that kind of thing, which is really cool. So you can basically, as Jonas was saying here, add a bit more resonance on the acid sound. And definitely you could add a bit more resonance, a bit more automation. And I love tracks like these because what I would actually do in this kind of instance is I would map the... nice one, mate, by the way. I would map the cutoff and the resonance and maybe even the decay of that kind of main sound to some MIDI controllers, and I would actually just play the track through, and I would do a few rounds of automation. One maybe with the cutoff, maybe another one with the resonance, maybe another one with the decay, maybe sending it off to a reverb, that kind of thing, and give it more of a natural performed thing, which, you know, again, is actually missing a lot in a lot of tracks these days. A lot of people make tracks with mice, and as Daft Punk like to say, you know, in their time, they said computers are not musical instruments. What computers are basically modern tape machines with more editing options. That's all they are. So if you can get out of the computer and into the physical domain, if you have a MIDI controller keyboard with some, you know, rotary controls, maybe some faders, something like that, you know, I think you might be a Logic guy, I think, if I can remember correctly. So, you know, anything that can map to like MIDI quick automation access can be really, really useful. If you're on Ableton, obviously you've got stuff like the push controller and a number of other things. So, you know, you can actually do that really, really nicely. So basically, that's what I would recommend, is to try and get a bit more movement and a bit more drama in that final third. Again, think about what I said in some of the other tracks tonight, that you really need to be providing the payoff, the climax, the absolute, like, this is what we've been building up to. Because the actual breakdown builds great and sticks well. Like, it really does. You've got great energy, you've got great tension. I would go as far as to say some of the tension that I was looking for in some of the other tracks we've heard this evening, you've actually got that. So, you know, it's very, very well managed and very well put together. And honestly, as well, like, just going to the vocals are great. And again, I was thinking along the same lines as Jonas here, where he says perhaps add some stutter to the vocal. And you can basically do that very, very easily. There's like a number of different plugins. I even think, like, you know, step effects and stuff like that in Logic will help you do that. But I really love, if you're going to use a third-party plugin, I would say something like Output Portal. That does some amazing, glitchy, weird, granular stuttering, which will really add a bit of character to the vocal, because it is a bit, like, again, a bit plain, and it works because you can hear what it's saying, which is great. Whereas half the time when you hear vocals like this, you can't even make out what they're saying in a lot of modern tracks. However, you could add a bit more what I would call sound design to it, throw it off to, because it's got a bit of reverb on it already, but I would definitely throw it off to delays on certain modes or certain notes or certain words, shall we say, certain vowels or consonants that sound cool. You can do that just by automating a send effect, which is quite useful with a delay on the other side. Or you can put it through something like Output Portal. And there's loads of like free granular plugins knocking around where you can really like glitch and smash things to pieces, and you can use that as a layer. So think about that as well. So yeah, there's a few things to work on, but my word, mate, very cool. Very, very cool indeed. And again, just going back to this comment, and as I've mentioned a couple of times tonight, you guys are all a lot closer than you think and are showing huge potential. So very, very cool. Thank you very much, Dale. It's a pleasure. Really, really nice. I really enjoyed the feedback session. Very detailed, Paul. I'm just wondering if you suggest any record labels I can send my track to, please. And also the best way to send them to labels. So, just to finish off, thank you very much, Dale. I'll address this question, my friend. Okay, in terms of record labels, I'm not the most knowledgeable in that kind of genre, if I'm being completely honest with you. So I wouldn't want to recommend a label that would end up being a bad fit for you. What I would say the best thing to do is actually, this is something we recommend a lot and it works, actually, rather than think about labels, think about what DJs you want having playing your music, and then establish relationships with them. It's all going down in the Instagram DMs. It's all going off in the DMs on various social media platforms. And a DJ loves nothing more than a record that's a banger that no one else has. So I would definitely recommend that. So make a list of, like, say, 15, 20 DJs that you really want to have support your stuff. Then once you've got DJ support, it makes actually getting signed to labels a lot easier. So I would focus on that first. Labels, it can be a frustrating ride. It can take a long time. It can be a lot of, you know, being kind of completely blanked by labels because they get a lot of demos, and it can become really, really tricky. So in that case, I would say definitely focus on DJ support first and foremost. And again, think about it. DJs are effectively doing your promo work for you whilst they're playing your records. So I would definitely recommend that as a first step. So yeah, man, it's all about networking. It's all about going to shows, meeting people. I believe in the old school way of, pressing the flesh, shall we say, and meeting people and making the effort to go and support. And there is no such thing as a unwelcome USB stick in a DJ's hand. Because honestly, I've seen that work a million times. I've seen people listen to tracks straight away, and then within half an hour of being given the USB stick during the set, they've actually played the record, believe it or not. So, don't despair on that one. Actually, I've just thought about something like that. What would be really interesting that you could do? If you really wanted to push to have DJs play your stuff and you were going to give them to them at a gig, put your demos through Record Box so they're analysed. And do that. And then put that on, a USB stick that they can then play in the club because it makes it easier for them. Just an idea. Just something that popped into my head right now. So yeah, there you go. No worries, my friend. Always here with the good advice. And again, we go in a lot more depth as well in the actual platform on MYT. We go into all kinds of stuff. We have a full marketing course. In fact, this Wednesday, we have a members-only masterclass on TikTok with the former senior guy for marketing from Mercury and Polydor Records, who's worked on some major, monstrously huge album campaigns. So honestly, really, really amazing stuff. We have a full course called Market Your Music, which is brilliant. And we've got courses on all aspects of what it takes to become a great artist and to be able to hopefully earn a sustainable living from your art in this day and age. Everything from mixing and mastering through to synth and sound design. Again, I do a lot of work with ADSR and did a stream just last night on Arturia Pigments 5. We do stuff like that. We've got full courses on a lot of the Arturia stuff, on Diva, on Omnisphere, on a number of different synths, and then genre-specific courses, like we've got an Organic House course, which has been really, really popular, and a number of other things as well. And again, we do stuff like this on a regular basis. So, it's all about getting the support you need. So we're going to move on, and what I'm going to do is, because I've just actually looked at my email and found 3 tracks that people have submitted since the start of the session. I was going to do these 6 initially, but you know what? Why not? Let's make an evening of it, shall we? So we'll listen to this one, and then what I'll do is I'll download the others. I had one from Yum's Music, which we will play, and from Filipe as well, and another one from Jeff Barr. So awesome, great stuff. Oh, here we go. Someone did that with Dylan Francis with a fart sound and a reverb on, and he played it. I actually saw that. That was the funniest shit. That was the funniest shit imaginable. Really, really funny, man. Really funny. Right, okay. Now, Ben's decided to drop off, and nobody else is on the Zoom. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end the Zoom call, and I'm just going to rearrange my screen just a little bit. And then I'm going to pop my camera on here from my live streaming software, just so I can make myself just that little bit bigger. And we can just get everything exactly where we need it. So it's all going to flow nicely. There you go. There's yours truly. There's the old Metric AB. And yeah, there you go. Excellent. Right, everything's just that little bit bigger on screen. Let's just do that. There we go. And if we do that, and if I get like that, everyone's a winner. There you go. Happy days. Right, so let's have a little listen to this. This is called My Girl. So here we go. And I believe, if I have a little look here, this is from... I would have to go through it, so my apologies. Again, please put your artist names on these files. Please. But have a listen anyway, and I'll figure out who it is while I'm listening. Here we go.
From my home, when I see you in traffic, often pride to say from my home, when I sing the song for you, often pride to say from my home, when I fell asleep, often pride from my home, when I fell off, I often cried. It's the season day I wanted for the past years. Yeah, the season day. Yeah, this is the day. Now is the time for me to get you to a dreamland where all your wishes make a share with me. Now is the time for us to share the feelings and emotions. Yeah, you will find the blessing for future. It's the season day I wanted for the past years. Yeah, the season day. Yeah, the season day. But down, but down, but down, but down. I try not to get the days wrong with you. I try not to show my love for you in the song.
This is kind of why I like to not listen to tracks beforehand, because that was a total surprise. And you know what? Hey, I'm an audio engineer. I will give you feedback on, I will give you feedback on Christian thrash metal if necessary. I'll give you, feedback on, Mormon surf rock, whatever you need. basically. And it's really interesting. And like I mentioned before in the chat, I definitely recommend, if you're not already influenced by the likes of LCD Sound System, I'd definitely go for that. Really, really cool. And as Dennis said, the reverb reminds me of Eric Clapton, which is high praise indeed. And I definitely think there's a lot more to be made from this. I got quite a, and if anybody knows anything about me, this is not going to be a surprise. I actually got quite a psychedelic feel from it. And I think you could actually lean into that. And I don't know, because obviously the guitars are live and that kind of thing. I think the drums were sequenced and not played live, because obviously you've got like kind of 909 rides and stuff like that. I would definitely say, add more psychedelic stuff to the guitars, definitely to the vocals. Dubby delays and stuff like that can be really cool. And again, if you've got any pedals that have got some really interesting, sometimes you can get like really interesting pitch-based delay pedals. And actually, depending upon what DAW you're using, Logic actually has quite a lot of good stuff. And also the free version of Guitar Rig 5 actually has a psychedelic delay in it. Or Guitar Rig 6 or whatever number they're up to these days. And actually, for electronic producers, can I just say, Guitar Rig, massively underrated plugin for electronic music production. You can do some really interesting stuff with that. So yeah, I really like it. I think you've got a bit more to do on the drums. I'd like a bit more compression on the drums and a bit more of a solid vibe to get the drums to become a bit more of a mainline element. As far as the vocals goes, the performance, I feel like you might need to do just a little tiny bit of pitch correction on there. I'm actually not too interested in making it absolutely bang perfect, but I definitely think just a little bit of ironing out of the tuning would work quite nicely without actually grinding too much on the character. So again, just little sparse bits of either Melodyne or corrective tuning. It's absolutely normal to do that these days, would work quite nicely. And then, like I say, add in a bit more in terms of reverb delays. There are a few timing issues as well. I just feel like you could tighten up the timing against the drums just a little bit, just to make it a bit more, a bit more solid of a performance. And again, what I would say for future productions is really make use of vocal comping. And if you're unfamiliar with what the concept of vocal comping is, it's vocal compositing, which essentially means you take multiple takes of the same song vocally. Maybe it's like 10, 15, 20 takes sometimes, which I've done in the past. And again, you construct the perfect vocal take out of them. It takes a bit of time, but it's absolutely worth it. And, it allows you to kind of really explore the maximum potential. Because, again, the vast majority of tracks you hear these days or songs with vocals, that was never a perfect take by and large, like 90% of the time. It's always a construction, and everybody from Adele down to, Dua Lipa doing the same thing, So it's absolutely fine. But thank you very much to Jonas. And drums need more fills, and the timing between the different elements felt a bit loose, but very cool ideas. Definitely agree with that. And I think there's a lot of potential there. And I like the sort of the slightly dreamy, surf, rocky kind of vibe to it. So definitely maintain that. And as I say, I think if you really lean into the psychedelic elements and really kind of, swim in that bit of reverb and delay. Again, if you've got pedals, stuff like Strymon pedals are fantastic for that. The delays and reverbs like Big Sky are great for that kind of thing. So yeah, really, really cool stuff. And thank you for the very welcome change of pace. Amazing stuff. Right, I'm going to move back to my main camera for a second, because what I am going to do is I'm going to get these other tracks down from our 3 people who dropped music in. Happy days. All right, so I'm gonna right, okay. Right, that needs to be downloadable. Where do these Mormons surf in the Great Salt Lake? Yeah, mate. Well, have you never been surfing in Vermont? Bless him. I'm sure there's plenty of world-class Mormon surfers. I'm not giving it the whole thing. So, Jeff Barr, if you are watching, please make your track downloadable. because I don't like to listen from SoundCloud. In fact, I refuse to do it because it's not an accurate representation of your track. And, you know, I would prefer to listen in full resolution with a WAV. I did say, please make it downloadable on the form on the website. But there you go. Right, okay. We're going to go to Filipe first. Prog Sabroso. So, let me just jump back into the screen share here. We're all good. Right, Filipe, your time's come. And let's do the late submissions, shall we? You know, no detention for late homework, considering you guys only just discovered me this evening. So thank you for the last minute submissions. And here we go. Oh, I like this already. Here we go. I'm really glad we decided to do these tracks because that was great. Nice one, Filipe. Really appreciate it, dude. Let me know where you're based. Very nice, man. Very, very nice indeed. I've got to compliment you on the drums, man. The drums and the groove is absolutely spectacular. Really solid start. Soon as I hit play, I was like, yep, that is right up my Strasse. Absolutely. Bong work, the kick and the bass really solid on my headphones here. You know, the funny thing is we've got quite a few of our AAA members here, so you're actually getting the benefit of the entire MYT community's feedback here. We've got George here, we've got Kevin, we've got Lee Pendleton, we've got The Chain, we've got Jonas was here earlier, he's a brand new member. We've got Dennis. So yeah, we're all ganging up on you. Great. Yeah, absolutely, Sean. Yeah, the groove's fantastic. And yeah, just the whole kind of bass and the way the acid sits is fantastic. Like really, really cool. I definitely think the acid could do with maybe a little bit more automation in order just to get it to squelch a little bit more. And again, when tracks get to this kind of level, what I was trying to say to Dale before was if you actually use MIDI controllers and stuff and actually look at it as an entirely, an entire piece and just ride the cutoff or resonance or the envelope decay, that kind of thing, just to kind of get a bit more movement and to just have the acids. And you could do this to a number of different elements in the track. You could actually have them warp, morph, change shape throughout the whole track. Yeah. As Kevin's just said here, could probably go a bit more crazy in automating the synths with filtering, pitch shifting, etc. But overall, really groovy. Yeah, totally agree. So for me, the main ARP element that came in was kind of poking out the mix a little bit, and it might be down to the fact that it is kind of like quite sine wave based, and it's got a kind of a slight resonance to it. So you might want to calm that with a bit of EQ in certain areas. You might want to maybe change the shape of the sound a little bit. You might also, make it a bit more plucky. Or you might also just want to turn it down a couple of dB. And actually, I think it would benefit from a little more reverb. Again, you could automate to those reverbs to make it more expansive and a bit more epic. And then calmer and quieter and a bit more dry in other areas. I actually think it would really benefit. Some of the musical variation that you could get in it is actually by throwing it out to delays as well, which would be quite nice. A nice dubby tape delay. I don't know whether you use Ableton or Logic, but a stereo delay or something like Echo is always really good, or something in Ableton. Or like one of my favorite plugins for delays is Waves H delay. That's always excellent as well. Or just the tape delay in Logic is very good too. So you could definitely, look at that for sure. And again, that will just add a bit more complexity without actually, needing to completely change the sequence, which, works really, really well. Raphael was saying here how he loves how the bass line makes and the groove makes the clap even more snappy, like it whips into it. Like the interaction between the drum sounds is probably one of the strongest things about the track. One thing I did find as well, to be honest, is there's like this like kind of undulating string sound that almost happens all the way through. And I did get a little bit tired of it after a while, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I would actually preferred after the break, when it drops in the main break, I would actually really like a section where you just get drums, groove, that's it. No other floaty elements, no vocals, no arps, nothing. Just let the groove out, and then what it does is that it resets the palette. Like, I always like to talk about palette cleansing, where essentially you give people a chance to miss sounds. And it is like, an old country and western song, isn't it? It's like, how can I miss you if you won't go away? It's that kind of element. So basically think about not allowing sounds to maybe outlast their welcome a little bit. And again, as the track goes on, try and modulate its tone and its timbre a little bit. Try and expand it with filters, maybe add layers to it, that kind of thing, just so things are constantly morphing. You've got people locked in on a groove, and they're going to stay there with you for the majority of the record. You've got an opportunity to do really weird and interesting stuff. Don't pass up the opportunity. It's really well arranged, really nicely put together. Really, really into it, man. Really, really into it. And yeah, dude, this is what we do. I was very adamant when I put the emails out, and I said this on the link that, you can fill the form in for. I personally believe we do the best track feedback in the entire industry. The most detailed, the most in-depth, the most constructive, and that's why so many of our members have been signed to insanely successful record labels. And we do this very quietly. We just kind of do our thing in our own little groove, and every now and then I like to stick my head above the parapet and say, hey, this is what we do, come join us. Simple as that. And hey, every now and then you can benefit from it. So yeah, really, really great. From a mixing perspective, track's phenomenal. Really nice. Like labels would take it like this now. But the good news is that with the feedback I've given you, there's even more movement. There's even more potential. As I like to say, and our members who are in this are going to groan when you hear me say this for the millionth time, but there is another gear in the gearbox. So yeah, let's get from 6th gear to 7th gear. Very nice. Filipe, mate, stay in touch, dude, because I'll be keeping an eye on you. That's good shit. That's good shit, pal. Wicked stuff. All right, so Yums is next. Unfortunately, because Jeff has not, gotten in touch yet. I'll double check on his. But yes, we'll have a little listen to this down-tempo track, apparently. And yes, we shall cleanse the palate with something different again. Here we go. Oh, I do love a vinyl crackle, don't you? very definition of being lured into a false sense of security. Because I get the down-tempo name, but my God, I wasn't expecting that when it dropped. But there you go. Yeah, very, as George was saying there on the pre-drop fill, very Bauer or, what's or not. Yeah, definitely very, very cool. I really enjoyed that because it was so unexpected, so different. So yeah, I mean, again, not normally my wheelhouse, but very, very cool. Some of these bass sounds would probably break the walls down if played loud. Yes, I agree, especially at this loudness, because it was running about like -5 LUFS, which, admittedly, like in terms of the more house, progressive melodic techno stuff that we kind of specialize in, we normally run to about -8 LUFS. But I've got to say, it did not sound overly squashed. So you did pretty well considering the amount of loudness, because sometimes you get things around that kind of loudness. It really does like sound very, very squashed indeed, but you did very well. And yeah, actually like more modern, noisier, definitely. I'm really interested in Tice, actually, from Noisier making more house music stuff these days. Quite interesting. But yeah, I'm a big fan of those boys. Love all that. Yeah, spicy, mate. Spicy, very hot and spicy. But yeah, very, very cool. Really well done, really well managed in all departments. It was actually really interesting to see that level of loudness, and you managed to keep the dynamics around competitive and like just loud. I was expecting squash, so that's really, really cool. If I've got one piece of feedback, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a couple of tiny little timing differences in the intro that just need to kind of be addressed and tightened up a little bit, especially like between like sort of those little vocal layers and kind of other little drum elements. It's the reverb for me. I've got to clip to 0, absolutely. Yeah, still need to have a little look into that. Anyway, so I've got to say that the reverb on the drums, like on the more organic drums, was an issue for me because they were a little bit too slappy. And, it kind of just took me out of it just a little bit. I would look more towards a plate, if I'm being honest with you, because that's like, and also lengthening it a little bit. I mean, plates are good for this type of thing. You can get really nice diffused ones. Sometimes I find with drums like this, vocal plates are quite nice because they're quite bright, quite diffused, and you can offer a nice ambience as well. But if you want to go a bit more realistic, then I would go convolution reverb. I would go for a real space. And I would also tone it down just a touch as well in terms of the ratio of direct sound to reverb, because it did sound a little bit overly reverberant, and it kind of made me feel like I was listening to somebody play those drums in a toilet, in a shower or something like that, which can work. I mean, I've recorded people in the shower or on the toilet or in the toilet. I've definitely not recorded people on the toilet. That's not an admission of me doing something very untoward, especially that, I haven't been drilling holes somewhere I shouldn't been. I'm just going to clear that up right away. But ultimately, it was just a little bit too slappy and a bit too, like, there was too many early reflections in it as well, if you know what I mean. So I would definitely look at that, and I think that would really help to kind of get the whole thing together, Yeah, the band is very much back together, and it's really funny because it's like basically we've got loads of AAA members who are now turning outwards and going, right, let's like look at everybody else. Yeah, totally feel that. Made this all yesterday, very impressive. We've got another fella who knocks out stuff like stuff at this kind of pace. His name's Dennis Vetters, and he's in the chat here. God, he sets a blinding pace for everyone else. So very, very well done, mate. This is really, really cool. I actually think the drops and the bass noises work really, really well. The little fills are fantastic. So yeah, man, I definitely think the main thing to look at is that reverb, and you can definitely like address that, and it'll really improve matters as well. So yeah, brilliant stuff, mate. And thank you for calling my attention to this, because we wouldn't have listened to these fantastic extra tracks from yourself and from Filipe tonight. And hopefully, if I just drop back, I'm going to try and see whether or not Mr. Jeff Barr has made his track downloadable. Has he? He has not, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that. All right, but there you go. Right, so, listen, Abraham Clark, where are you? Where have you put the track? Have you emailed it to me? Have you DM'd me on Instagram? What have you done? Come on. Come on. Give it to me. Dennis can fart a good tune. Well, yeah. He also did the theme tune of tonight's stream, although I did use the instrumental version. Because you don't want to hear the vocals on it because it's me. It's not me singing. I was sampled. That's all I'll say. Egregious crimes against sampling, and now I have to use it for other things. But there you go. So let me just have a little look here because I want to just make sure I get Abraham's in. Oh, here you go. Who's Rick Dino? I'm getting submissions the whole night. Right, okay. So it's a good job I'm feeling energetic, isn't it? Right, well, I'll tell you what. Abraham, you have... The vocals were spot on. Yeah, in your opinion. Right. Abraham Clark, you have until the next track is done to get yours in. And Jeff Barr, if you're watching, get yours in by the end of actually listen to this. A demo from Rick Dino. Oh, very good. Oh, there we go. At least he's direct. And at least it's downloadable. Alright. So, boop. And we are in. Abraham, clock's ticking, buddy. And we back. Rick Dino, lesson 1. Let's have it. Here we go. Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Right, no more submissions, please. This one's either the last one or Abraham's. point. Thank you for that very energetic way to, it looks like, bring the evening to a close. Very, very cool, mate. Very cool. Thank you for dropping that in last minute. Very nice. Like I've said, it's on screen right now. The shop is closed. I'd love to stay in and do this all night, but it's Friday night. And I'm going to relax because I did 5 hours of meetings in a jiu-jitsu class before this tonight. So I'm going to relax because I've got more jiu-jitsu in the morning. So there you go. Anyway. Really cool. Really enjoyed it. Really like the arrangement in particular. There's lots of really smart things going on. Love that little stop just after the main drop. Like, really cool. Super chunky. Loads of good energy. Love the main sort of synth line, like that main sort of acid kind of line. Really, really nice, super crunchy, distorted. As I say, loads of energy. And you can kind of almost hear the but in my statements there. I don't mean it like that. However, the kick and the low end is an issue. And the reason why is because, like, the rumble in the low end is really making it very difficult for the kick to stand out. And there's a lot of energy there. And yeah, there should be. It's a techno record. But you definitely need to realign that relationship between the kick and the rumble. Because it's very, very easy with stuff like this to overdo it. A little of this goes a long way, especially in clubs. And I often find you need a lot less of it than you actually think you need. So again, this might be a thing of once you kind of get club road testing, because this is good once you make the changes to have road testing in a club. If you can get DJs to play it and give you feedback on it, that's always a great thing. However, as I say, this kick rumble thing, and again, maybe I just want that little bit, it might be just a personal thing, but I think a little bit more roundness, a little bit more overall tone in the top end, just to get that kick to cut through would work really, really brilliantly well. Really, really brilliantly. I'm going to go back through the chat because there's some really, really great shouts here. Musk, one of our AAA members, was talking about, and I really agree with him on this, in the final third, it feels like it needs another element to help with the call and response. Like, I really agree with that, because there's that boom, 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 like a really nice line that I mentioned before, and then there's just a gap, and there's a gap there for another element. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Rick, I do like it, mate. Really, really like it. And the good news is, I think it can be a lot better. So, definitely, you need another element in that final third, and it'd be quite nice to have a gap and just let it do its thing through the track. And then in the final third, you almost pose the question, if you know what I mean, through the track. You're like, here's the question, here's the question, here's the question, and here's the answer later on. Do you know what I mean? It's all about call and response. Ask a question, answer the question with another element. And especially in stuff like this, because there's a lot of drums, it's heavy, you know, that kind of thing, it would work really, really well there. Really, really cool. I agree with Kevin in that once you make these changes, all it needs is a sweaty warehouse, then it'll be complete. Very nice. Again, another good idea from Sean talking about the call and response is a vocal, as well as maybe some proper acid or different kinds of stabs. Just something that feels like it really complements it. The other thing I want to just sort of draw attention to is your loudness was slightly hot on the master. It was over what we recommend, which is like -8 LUFS. But that just kind of can just be about backing off on the limiter. And again, a lot of that can be attributed to the relationship between the kick and the bass and its overall role in the record. It can take up a lot of space, can take up a lot of energy, and yeah, you get the idea. It can make it run a bit hot, and it can compress the whole thing, and it can kind of deny space to the entire record because it's having its nose pressed up against the brick wall limiter, if you will. Other thing as well, again, we were talking about before, is stereo bass. This is particularly important when it comes to genres like this in techno. I would highly recommend getting either the bass mono on a utility plugin if you use Ableton, some of the other tools we mentioned before, like Brainworks BX Control, Voxengo, any of the free ones that can do a bass mono type situation where you can force certain frequencies and below into the mono from stereo. So again, you run the risk of actually having phase cancellation when you have stereo elements in your bass like this. So what I would recommend is, I go up sometimes, like I mentioned before, up as high as 300 hertz. That actually is not me talking. That's a tip I picked up from Calvin Harris. Let's face it, you might not like what Calvin makes, but guy knows how to produce. Simple as that. And again, sometimes I'm down as low as 150, 100, that kind of thing. Just depends on the genre. So definitely make sure that your kick and your bass is in mono. That will also help with the relationship. And again, don't be afraid as well as that once you realign that relationship level-wise and you want to try and experiment with a different fit, flip the phase on either your kick or your bass and try it in different phase alignments to see whether or not you get a better fit and you get a much more settled bass. Sometimes it's not about the cancellation with a kick and a bass that aren't quite locking well together on phase. A lot of the time, it sounds weaker, or it sounds hollow, or it rings, that kind of thing. Sometimes it's about an overproduction of bass frequencies, because there is something called constructive interference. You experience it every time you mix two records together in a DJ situation, and they lock together and they kind of like double in volume, or at least they did in the vinyl days, which is giving my age away, shall we say. So ultimately, you've got a really great production. Good news, again, like I've said this a few times tonight, you guys are talented. Everyone's put tracks in tonight, talented. Really, really great. Really, really great. And, you've got a gear to go in this gearbox. So well done, Rick. Thank you for sneaking that in at the last minute. Very, very cool indeed. And yes, we did like it indeed. So it looks like Mr. Abraham Clark didn't get his track in time. So, and unfortunately, with Mr. Jeff Barr not making his track downloadable, because I don't do the SoundCloud thing, this is not how we do things around here. I do it like this for a reason. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to call it quits for the evening. We started out doing 6 tracks. I think we ended up doing 10. So that's not too bad at all. Amazing stuff. I've really enjoyed this tonight. And again, we're going to be doing this in a few different points during the year. So yeah, very, very much enjoyed it. Really, really cool. And again, don't forget that we are also 50% off at the moment. I did call you out. I've been calling you out for the last half an hour. I've just been telling you to get the track in. You've missed the boat now. Send it me via DM. I'll have a listen to it when I get a chance. Maybe I'll listen to it on the plane to Barcelona on Monday, because I've got a show in Barcelona on Tuesday. Very, very fun. I was giving this time to other people. I was on the last 2 streams. Oh, bless you. All right, mate. All right. Well, send it to me anyway, and I'll have a little listen. I was trying to pack it through, but, it was what it is. So, as I say, we're still 50% off for January. Head to transition.studio/January. And it's 50% off 6 and 12-month memberships until the end of the month. So if you want to benefit from feedback like this on a regular basis, we do this twice. You kept on asking me if is the feedback full. I assumed you had a track. Anyway, crossed wires. Anyway, enough of this hijinks. We are, as I say, here to help. And we get these feedback sessions running twice a month. So you get feedback on your works in progress, and then you get to finish them by the end of the month. It adds accountability, it adds structure. You get this kind of quality feedback, not just off me, but off the rest of the community as well. And it's very, very special, and it's a great way that the community come together. And as you can imagine, with the level of talent that we have in this community, the rising tide definitely lifts all boats, to the extent that we, as I say, earlier in the year or last year, we actually started a record label, which is, just about on its 4th release, which is going to be out next week. And, we'll be issuing more details about that via socials in the week. So if you're not following us on social media, just look for MYT Make Your Transition on the old socials, shall we say. We're on TikTok now, and we're just going on that. And I'm posting reels every day on mindset, creative practice, books you should read, all that stuff as well. So we're definitely giving value no matter what. So very, very happy with that. And again, it's been a fantastic stream. I thank you all very much, no matter where you're watching. Some of us joined on Facebook, most of us on YouTube, and very thankful to this community for allowing me to listen to your music tonight. So look after yourselves. Have a great rest of your day, no matter where you are in the world. And phenomenal stuff. And yes, thank you very much indeed. And I will be seeing you very soon indeed. Much love.